Hi, welcome back. Now, we've been seeing words like public and private and static and final and things like that, so I thought it would be a good time to tell you about those. So, property access modifiers can basically be three things: public, private, or protected. Public means that a property can be accessed, used, seen from anywhere in the program. Private means that the property can only be seen from within the object or class itself. Protected means that the object can be accessed from anywhere, or the property, can be accessed from anywhere in the same package in which that class is defined. Now, if no access modifier is specified, we get protected level access. And so far, we've been using protected level access for our properties just by declaring, say, int count or something like that. Now, static and final don't really specify access. They specify how this property is going to be used. A static property is associated with the idea of an object or the class itself, and not with any specific instance or object made out of that class. And we'll see examples of this as we go along. Final means that the property's value cannot be changed once it's initialized, once it's set. So final is a constant, let's say. Now we can also use static and final together, and if we do that, this is a constant that the compiler can just inline or slip into the bytecode as actually what its value is. So we'll see things like private static final int. Now, I should mention, though, that all of these modifiers must precede the type name. So the first example here, public static int num frogs, is correct. We have an integer number of frogs. It's declared as public. I can see it anywhere. And static, it belongs to the class, not an object made out of the class. So this is a correct declaration. Private int final days of week equals 7. Well, final says that this is a constant, and days of week is certainly a constant, but notice that final comes after the type int. This is wrong. It must be private final int days of week equals 7. So let's look at some examples. Here I have a class rectangle, and I see that first I have a public static final string. My declaration is in the right order. It's called description, and has length and width is the description. Now this description is really going to be the same for all rectangles, and it's a constant. If it's the same for all rectangles that we can make out of this class, therefore it is static. If it's constant, it is final. And since it is both static and final, the compiler can replace all instances in our code of description with, quote, has length and width. And that's what compiler inlining means. We also have two public properties, a length and a width. A rectangle should have a length and a width. And I should really, in this case, I'm saying I should really be able to see this from anywhere in my program. So now in main, I can declare a rectangle myrect equal new rectangle, nothing new here. Then I can set the length of myrect and the width of myrect to 5 and 3. And then I can print out a formatted string area is equal to, now notice this specifier in my format string. It's %d. %d says I'm going to print an integer. For historical reasons, d stands for decimal. But don't worry about that. Just know that %d in Java is replaced by an integer. And that integer I'm going to replace it with is the product of the rectangle's length and the width. Notice here, I'm also printing out the rectangle's description. But look at this. I'm not using myrect's description, although technically I could. The compiler would give me a little warning about that. But I can use myrect description. But I'm actually using the class's description. How can I do that? Because that description is declared as static. It belongs to the class, not any specific object of the class. Now notice if I take this keyword out, static, and just make it a final string description. Now this description will only belong to an object of type rectangle. So now if I do this, it's going to warn me, it's going to say non-static field description cannot be referenced from a static context. So what that really is saying, that if I say I want to get the description out of the rectangle class and not myRect, I better get it out of that class, and it needs to be a class field, and I need to say it is by using the keyword static. Now there's some other keywords that we might use later, such as transient, volatile, things like that, but public, private, protected, static, and final are the big ones for properties that you need to know.